Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me, as always, in the co-host seats are our good friends Angela Rose
Hello.
and Darren Starling.
Yellow.
We want to remind everybody, Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media. For the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books, be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox for all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also see them next month at Anime Boston. They will be along the back wall, I think table number 37. So stop by and say hi if you're able to make it to Anime Boston this year. Again, welcome everybody to Anime-Zing Radio. Tonight we're going to just be talking about a few different things, mid-season anime review for the winter season here. Also wanted to talk about some of the weird trends that I've been noticing in anime. And it's like I know a lot of people pick on isekais and things of that nature, but there's been a trend that, and I got a lot of crap for this, watching the pharmaceutical animes where reincarnated in another world, started their own pharmacy, things of that nature. Now it seems like the isekais have switched over to farming or cooking of some sort. Have you noticed that as well, Darren?
Oh, most definitely. There have been several animes modeled after farming or cooking. Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill. Parallel World Pharmacy. Technically, I got kicked out of the Heroes Party. Banished from the Heroes Party. He started a pharmaceutical style store. But yes, it's been fairly prominent within the past couple of years.
And it's interesting to see how, some of these just random things have suddenly become mainstream, that multiple studios are just picking up these shows. And I know, Angela, you're not much into the isekai world, but what has been your opinion about some of these weird trends of multiple creators just grabbing onto an idea and then just like running with it?
I feel like as a direct result of way too much that is so similar, I feel like there's at least one gem that's going to get completely overlooked because most people will look at it as just another farming or just another mediocre isekai or just another this. Just another sequel.
And it's very possible that could happen. I'm not saying that any of these shows have been fantastic. A lot of them have been enjoyable for what they are. Out this season, Farming Life in Another World has been enjoyable, and some of the comments I saw of people talking about it.
See, I'll be honest, I'm not surprised you're enjoying that.
One of the comments summed it up pretty good, saying it's the anime version of like Farmville plus harem. And it kind of is. It's a fun anime if you just want to kill time and not have to think about anything. Something that's easy to follow if you're busy doing other stuff. And I hope it gets English dubbed, because that'd be something that'd be great for the Western audience to sit back and enjoy.
There we go. And you know what? And are we both looking at HH's comment?
Yes. Yes, HH, I know you did want us. I will say I did not go into the campfire cooking show. I just went to Farming Life in Another World.
Yes, I give you guys a lot of shit, arguably far more than I should, for enjoying the isekai. And it does have its and every genre, with very, very few isolated exceptions, has its place. And the wide variety of stuff that is out there means there's something for everybody. The fact that it's becoming more and more mainstream means it's going to be a lot harder for most people to find what they like. And on that note, I don't know if either of you guys saw um, the Anime Man put out a video regarding Michael B. Jordan's top 5 and recommended anime.
I have not seen that.
I have not either.
Michael B. Jordan tweeted out a top 5 if you're gonna check out for if you're new to anime and want to get a feel for it. These are the 5 you should watch. And I actually disagree with most of that list, but I understand why he chose those 5.
For those of us who have not seen this list, what were the shows, if you remember them?
I remember them, but not in order. I gotta see if I can find them in order. Do I have Twitter on this device? Yes,
Well,
no, I don't.
while she's looking,
Not in
Gigix recently
order.
put a video out as well about a sister tier waifu, which was hysterical. I don't know if you saw that.
Not in order. Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, and Hunter x Hunter.
All mainstream.
I can understand. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Angela. I don't agree with the choices, but I can understand why, because they're so mainstream. They are so in your face and everywhere.
Joey's response was, the amount of episodes is just too much, and he had a altered list that had similar ideas, but had not as many episodes, and some of those we've touched on. One of the ones Joey brought up was Sword Art Online season 1, and then caveat, skip the ALO arc, and the ALO arc is garbage, to which I have said that many times. Another one is Attack on Titan.
I think if you were going to introduce somebody to anime and you wanted to give them a good understanding of what anime is today, to be fair, I think you would have to pick like popular shows from each genre. That way the person could get a feeling of, okay, this is what a shonen is. This is what an isekai is. This is what an idol show might be, or something along those lines.
Or also, I feel like a top 5 at this point
is very difficult.
Is a disservice to everybody because as we determined at the end of the year, each of us picked a top 5 for the year, and out of those 5, there were only 2 shows we all listed.
Yeah.
And we all have very different tastes. So I feel like for any kind of recommendations at this point, you'd almost have to go by what does the individual like as far as other media, and kind of go from there. Well, if you like Tarantino movies, you're probably not gonna like a rom-com slice of life as much as you would some of the psychological stuff.
If you were into like Friends or Cheers or sitcom shows, and you probably would enjoy a rom-com slice of life. Or
exactly.
If you're an athlete, you'd probably get a big kick out of some of the sports shows out there. Blue Lock, or I know there's baseball and ping pong, the animation,
and golf, and there's
Keijo.
There's a lot of sports anime out there. A lot of not mainstream sports as well.
They had a whole comedy anime, which I had no idea that was even a sport until, oh God, I forget the name of the show. But it was ridiculous. Ah, crap.
But I think half the
Which
reason I
one?
What was that, Darren?
Sorry, what were you saying?
The
Sorry.
show that the ridiculous like comedy show that involved comedy, like they had the blonde girl training about comedy in the woods and stuff. I think you watched that as well.
I did.
Chiho School Road.
Nah, I didn't watch that one.
You didn't watch that? That was the one.
But I think half the reason I enjoyed Yuri on Ice for what it was, even though that's not typically something I would not typically in my wheelhouse, was because I grew up watching figure skating in the 80s and 90s. And so a lot of the nods were there.
And the animation was
Oh, it was
fantastic.
gorgeous.
Now that's I heard so much about Yuri on Ice, and everybody was talking about how amazing the animation was, how smooth everything was for the skating, and they really took a lot of time to pay attention to detail of.
Even popular figure skaters watched it and enjoyed it, and even a lot of them realized that some of the characters were inspired by them, and they got a kick out of that. But that was like the show that season that took the world by storm.
Hmm.
And it seems like every year there's shows that come out that just take the world by storm. And I think that, like, we were talking a few weeks ago about the shows from 2022, and I think the biggest surprise from 22 was Bocchi the Rock. Nobody expected that to have the impact that it had. And when like I watch a lot of different YouTubers who are anime watchers, and a lot of them were talking about it, and they all said it was really, really good.
Hi, John. Good to see you.
Hello, John. Hello, HH. Hello to everybody tuning in. Hello to all of you amazing podcast listeners around the world. We thank you so much for tuning in to us every week as these episodes come out, and love everybody that has been supporting us. It's amazing to see the growth that we have been experiencing, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds.
Yeah, Bocce. I'm. We've heard so much about it that we've actually discussed watching it. We haven't started it yet, but it's on the to-do list.
After watching it week by week, I want to take time to sit down and watch it in bigger chunks so that I can enjoy it more. Because as you know, and Darren knows, when you're watching a show or multiple shows every week, sometimes it's hard to remember what happened last week in the show because I'm watching 10, 12, 15 shows sometimes. Plus, you add on top of that work, life, the universe, everything else. It's tough to keep up with everything. So sometimes it's good, especially a show that was as impactful as Bocchi was to so many
Um,
people.
to address John's comment, I have not watched the new Attack on Titan. What my husband and I decided to do was we were gonna basically wait until enough more drops and then binge I think the rest of the final season, or at least more than the 1 hour long piece that's up. So no worries about spoilers because I don't know either.
And I don't watch it.
Same here.
But and see, and that kind of does tie nicely into exactly what you were saying with Attack on Titan. Uh, we binged a fair amount of it to catch up, then went week to week, and then way too much time passed, and then we got the final season. Except it's not really the final season because
It's
however
just part one of a million.
exactly. So now we basically decided because part 3 was 1 hour long episode instead of, you know, 6, 8, 12 weeks. We're like, screw it. We're just going to wait until the next part drops and then watch it all at once. Maybe we'll get an ending. Probably not, but.
And I do the same thing with sequels that are coming out now. Like um, it's coming up in April, starting next month. We have a lot of season twos coming out of shows that I've really enjoyed, including Kuma Bear and uh,
Kamikawa.
Tonikawa. What else was there? Smartphone. So a lot of these shows I've gone back and rewatched
And
or currently rewatching.
I don't know. I don't know if there's actually much I'm gonna be watching new next season. Next season might be the season I say the heck with it and go back and catch up on everything I missed out on.
Speaking of which, Doug, have you made it any further on Goblin Slayer since we both completed our?
I have not. I have been slacking.
I feel better I'm not the one that slacked off this time.
I'm good at slacking. Um,
But you're not a slacking. You're not even a Vigoroth.
lately, it feels like I've been coughing and wheezing.
Not
You know
necking.
what? As much as and I'll give you credit, Darren. Aho Girl was not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting far worse.
I think also what played into it was you watched it during a week of high stress, a lot of stuff going on, and you were able to watch something that was just mindlessly stupid entertainment. You didn't have to focus on a major storyline. You didn't have to try to figure out a psychological thriller, which I'm sure
Which
from
is
the week you had that week, as you were
oh no,
telling us, was
and
busy. You were spent.
that's exactly it. It was mindless guilty pleasure garbage. But it wasn't bad.
Granted, the main character is absolutely ridiculous, but
And it did have and I will say it did have there were certain things that were really well done.
and we all agree the best character was the dog.
The dog was freaking awesome.
Personally, my favorite human character was I believe she was on the disciplinary committee, the one with the blue hair.
The council president or disciplinary board president or whatever.
Yes.
She was hilariously awkward.
Loved every minute of it.
And HH has a question for you, Darren.
I didn't know it.
HH says, Darren, have you caught any of the AI generated Presidents Rate Pokemon games videos? They even rate waifus. It's hilarious.
Nope.
That's the first I've heard of it. I know that Gigic on his second channel, Garnt,
He
did
has
a
a
video
third
with
channel
Sydney.
now.
He did a video with Sydney, his wife, rating sisters. Did a tier list of sisters.
Hmm.
If you
Did
haven't seen it, I suggest watching it. Sydney says something that a very hysterical Freudian slip that went across a live stream. I don't want to say what she said, but it was absolutely hysterical and worth the watch. Now, I don't fully agree with all where they placed a lot of the waifus, but I also have, or not waifus, the sisters, but it is what it is. And they included sisters from many shows, a lot of which I hadn't seen. Yes, Darren, they did include Kiss X Sis, both girls, and all 5 of the quintessential quintuplets.
I'm assuming his girl Sagadi was in there.
I think so. I'm not going to say where anybody ended up, but there was definitely some arguments between him and Sydney about where to put certain girls.
I wonder if Yosuga no Sora was in there.
And he also put out a video that I finally got to watch about ranking the 2022 fall anime, I think it was. And he did put Bocchi the Rock S tier in front of Chainsaw Man. I was in shock with
Well, Chainsaw Man was good, but to be fair, from what I understood, it was overhyped just the slightest. But all in all, still a very good show.
I will, as much as I want to argue with that statement, I really can't. I loved Chainsaw Man. However, I will say that was the one leading in to the season everyone was talking about. So I went into episode 1 thinking that there was a possibility that it was going to be overhyped.
And to be fair, I haven't watched it, and so I don't really have a comment on Chainsaw Man. But from what I've heard, and especially the way that Darren and you were just talking about it, just because it may have been overhyped doesn't mean it was that good, because sometimes the hype is just at an unrealistic level for something to attain, and it doesn't mean it was trash. It just meant expectations were set at 100 where the show could only come out at 98. Still a great show, but the hype was built up so much that you know expectations were so high
And
it'd
I
be tough
feel
to
like
meet.
I will say I feel like there are certain ongoing shows where we've long since reached that point.
I think there are some shows that are still going now that the hype train has come and gone multiple times, and it's surprising that some shows are still going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have never seen a Detective Conan episode, but that thing's been going on for decades.
I made it about 80 episodes in before I called it quits.
Um Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, My Hero Academia.
Attack on Titan. That has had the roller coaster. I have seen it from a lot of
No,
people.
and I'm agreeing.
Again, I'm not saying the shows are
Oh
bad.
no. Oh no.
Before
I'm
anybody
just
out there is like jumps down my throat saying he
no.
says it sucked. No, it doesn't suck. It's not my taste, but I have
And
seen the fandom ebb and flow
I
through the
feel like
years.
but I feel like for the very long running shows, I feel like there's a lot more of that.
Now, Now, would you rather see a show keep going like One Piece has gone over 1,000 episodes, or would you rather see something like Gundam that puts out, it still goes, but it's multiple seasons of different subjects?
It's multiple art or multiple time and place.
Gundam Gundam has so many different subsets that it feels like you're comparing apples to oranges, really.
Well, I'm just talking, I'm not talking about the shows per se, I'm talking about how they're running them. Where would you rather a show just continue with a storyline forever, or would you rather have a franchise that puts out a few seasons of one section, like it's still the same storyline or same characters or same basic concept, but it has multiple spin-offs that can continue the story, so you don't feel like you're watching 1,000 episodes of one show. You're watching 24 episodes of a show, and oh look, here's 24 episodes of a different subject from the same show, where it breaks it down a little bit more, where sometimes
I think it depends. Like, for example, like the source material, like One Piece. I've never actually seen it. I've never actually read it, but I don't. But as far as I know, it's actually all based on the manga, and there's very little in the way of actual filler.
which is probably a good thing. I mean,
Which is a good thing. It just means that if you didn't it just means that if you're trying to start it now, it's a bit overwhelming if you don't take it in reasonable chunks. Something like Gundam, where there's possibly just as many episodes, but each chunk does not necessarily connect to any other chunk, like the Gundam from last season that I thoroughly enjoyed. Did other than the fact that they're Gundam suits, it didn't connect to any other Gundam. There was no mention of any other Gundams.
So that could be a good introduction to a new generation to the mecha,
Exactly.
as
And
opposed to younger generations jumping into One Piece at episode 987, as opposed to older fans who were there at the beginning.
and and then you can go back, you can take that as a standalone and then go back and kind of cherry pick which Gundams you care to watch based on what you specifically like.
And that
There's
is absolutely insane. Next year will be the 45th anniversary of Gundam.
and I feel old now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, and my internet's doing the thing where comments aren't going to show up. They're going to show up late and all at once.
I can't even see. I can't even see comments coming live. I gotta switch screens.
That's okay. We can keep you up to date on what's going on, Darren.
But but I mean, and I think we've talked about this before, but we're kind of getting into the evolution of anime as a media, because that gets into how everything's changed.
And anime has changed quite a bit in the last, like, 45 years with Gundam. And I mean, years ago, you didn't tell people you enjoyed anime or cartoons or things of that nature because you might have been made fun of, or like the nerds were definitely separated from the average class and the jocks and things like that when you go back in school. Now with how mainstream anime and gaming has become, it's more accepted around across all platforms.
And it's working on a college campus. One of the things I'll never forget are two anime related stories. One, I was wearing a Ruby shirt one day, and somebody asked me if it was from the show Kill la Kill, and I was just even though I'd never seen Kill la Kill, I was so floored, but it led to like a 10-15 minute conversation about anime in general and what shows we were both currently watching, and it was just like this big thing. A few years later, just seeing someone with a My Hero Academia shirt right before one of the seasons was about to drop, and I said something about, "Oh, did you know the new season's dropping in a couple of weeks?" And she just looked at me like, oh, like in shock that, quote, an adult watches anime. And she was so surprised, and it was just hilarious.
Wait, you're considered an adult?
Exactly. Compared to a college freshman, yes, I am probably old enough to be their parent.
You know, that's the thing. There be days where I'm like, okay, I need an adult. Oh wait, I am the adult.
Uh,
Wait till you get closer to my age.
I resemble that.
Maybe then I'll
I was
actually look.
trying to be nice and not say yours, just
Maybe
because we're
Fair.
close.
maybe then I'll actually look the part. But in the meantime, people still think I'm in my early 20s.
And Timothy in the chat says, I loved watching cartoons as a kid. I just reached a point I did not pay attention to the comments of others. Which is, it's great that you can do that.
Well, I'll say this: in elementary school, people were judgmental little fucks there toward the end of it. Middle school, they kind of chilled out everything that was frowned upon in elementary school suddenly became cool again, and then in high school, most people stopped giving a damn.
I wish I could say the same. Uh, when I was in high school, everyone judged everybody. The difference was it was basically very clicky, and every clique had its thing.
Well, I agree, but at the same time, when it came to anime and nerd related topics, if we had been able to keep it together, the anime club would have been the largest club in the whole school.
Yeah, even we didn't have that.
Yeah, we
Granted,
didn't have that either.
Yeah, I
uh,
know. I'm
granted,
just saying
granted,
though.
that was the '90s for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim in the chat room also says, "Oh, I'm 65. You have a ways to get here."
Oh
We do
wow.
have a little bit of time to get there, but I love the fact that you're 65 and you're still enjoying shows, you're still enjoying games and things of that nature. That's the beauty of anime right now, is that it's becoming more mainstream and everybody.
And
It's
there
inclusive to
Yep.
all ages.
and
Yep.
there's definitely
There's
something.
something for everybody.
Exactly.
And anime is not just for kids. I'm
God,
sure we all have heard that
Quite
argument.
quite the contrary. You say anime is for kids? Okay, go watch this, this, and this. What the did I just watch?
Yeah. Have
exactly.
them sit down and watch Attack on Titan or High School
Elfen Lied.
DxD, Elfen
Elfen
Lied,
Lied.
Goblin Slayer, Interspecies Reviewers,
I was waiting for that.
Conception,
I
School
No.
Days.
Why would okay? Unless you really hate the person, why on earth would you recommend Conception?
I'm
I'd
not.
watch.
he's proving the point
I'm
that that
proving
is
the point
not
that
for
that is not for
children.
kids.
And
Oh,
That's why I
I'll
also
watch.
included School Days on there. And
I will watch School Days any day of the week versus that.
uh
yeah,
see, I've heard enough about School Days from our favorite trio that I already know it's not for me.
11 episodes. It isn't until the 11th episode 11th or 12th episode you would figure out what's going on and why the tags are what they are.
yeah, it gets weird. Like it. The flow of the show seemed like it was going one direction until the last two episodes, and then it was like this took a turn I wasn't expecting, and I give them credit for doing that, which you don't see many shows just throw a curveball at you that's like not expected, not planned, and it still fits the story. But at the same time, that was also the reason that it was so terrible, is the ending of it.
And we look at
I'd rather watch Girls Bravo again than School Days.
Hmm. Girls Bravo was actually mildly enjoyable in the dumbest way possible.
Yeah.
And Childhood Friend was Best Girl. Kyrie.
Yep. But you've always enjoyed the childhood friends,
Yes, because they almost never win.
except
Maybe
Shuffle.
it's because I'm disappointed that I lost several of mine in terms of I don't talk to them anymore. That potentially something could have happened in the future.
I can understand that point.
I mean, my one of my first childhood friends won't even talk to me now. She told me to leave her the hell alone, and I haven't talked to her in over 10 years.
everything happens for a reason.
And even if we don't know what that reason is at the time, there is a reason that it happens.
Yep. I'm looking forward to see if my class will actually hold a class reunion, considering we're approaching our 10th year.
I graduated in 1996. We haven't had a reunion yet, to my knowledge.
My 20th high school reunion was all planned. Mind you, I wasn't going to go anyway, but then COVID happened.
I would, in all honesty, I would go to my high school reunion if they had one. Partially because I want to see who's done what and see how many people don't believe me when I tell them I do a podcast.
See, my whole thing, and I think I'm friends with enough people I went to high school with on Facebook, people I never actually really talked to outside of a classroom, ever. So it's one of those things where it's like, why bother? Because
You get a peek into their lives indirectly almost every single day.
that and a fair and either A, they never left that part of the state, or B, they went far, far away and never came and rarely come back. And
Well,
it's like, and social media has just made it where I just don't necessarily care. I wasn't really good friends with most of these people to begin with. Why would 20, 25 years make a difference?
mm,
That's true.
sometimes I think it just satiates the curiosity that we all have regarding people we knew or associated with.
I also could be a thing of, like you were saying, Angela, being in the age of social media and stuff. I think a lot of the reason that people had reunions was because they didn't keep in contact with friends and stuff from school, and it was a way to get classmates and stuff back together that may not have talked for a long period of time, where now it's so easy to um, communicate via the internet, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, Skype, whatever form you choose, you can just so easily reach out to somebody and shoot a message.
And God, Timothy's question in the chat.
That is a good question. I'm not,
Um,
and I don't even know how did
I'm
cancel culture ever catch on in
the
the
cop
first
out.
place.
It's because
The,
people don't have thick skin anymore.
I was gonna say the oversimplified cop out answer is because the internet. Period. But it's not really that simple.
I, the internet is a wonderful gift and a horrific
Sure.
punishment.
Yeah.
But cancel culture, from what I can tell, and I may not be right, it basically is someone does something online and someone else gets offended by it and publicly says they're offended by it, and then everybody else, because it's one person's offended, now everybody's offended, and all of a sudden it's, oh, we're going to hate on that person because they did this horrible, horrible thing. And
Oh,
overall, the whole thing is just something.
and sometimes people hop on the train without even knowing what's going on just because they're bored or just the way the person puts a spin on a story makes it sound so one-sided and people don't realize it's one-sided till they actually start digging.
Yep.
And in today's culture, people, let's be honest, people are lazy. They don't
Yeah,
want to dig for information. They whatever is in front of them, they take it as it's the Bible in some cases. And I
And
don't mean to throw religion in there, but they look at it as this is the ultimate truth. It's online. It has to be true.
And Timothy, you're absolutely right. It does seem like there are some people who are only online to find something to be offended about.
yep. In other
And we call
words,
them hobgoblins.
Yup.
Just to piss them off now. Just call them hobgoblins. People that just want to go online and start trouble and just annoy people, and they're not happy unless something has happened where they're only happy when they're causing turmoil to others.
And and
yep.
that and I don't remember who it was. You know what? I'm gonna like for example, the whole thing between Chris Rock and Will Smith is actually a good example of that. Because Chris Rock made an arguably joke and made a joke in bad taste. And what came after was just a whole bunch of nonsense where the media got involved and social media and everyone had an opinion about it and they tried to cancel Chris Rock, they failed.
And let's be honest, in this day and age, media is part of the problem because let's be honest, we're in a day and age where the media puts a spin on every single thing that's out there. They're
As
getting
long as they
views.
attract viewers and get ratings, they don't care what they put out there.
Exactly.
And in news, it's a race to be first, not a race to be accurate.
Which is a bigger part of the problem. And also, I'd argue there is not a single news source that's not biased in some way, shape, or form.
Yep, there is no there is no unbiased reporting nowadays. Like, and if you do find it, it's like strictly independent operators that have no presence whatsoever outside of whoever follows them.
And that's why, on here we voice a lot of our own personal opinions when it comes to the world of anime. We voice our experiences, what we have seen, felt, experienced at conventions, shows, talking with voice actors, giving the audience a chance to get to know the voices behind the characters that we enjoy better, the cosplayers that we enjoy, the crafts that they've done, with same thing with the artists and the gamers, where we give these people a chance to show themselves to a wider audience and say, look, we're just people too. This is just our job. So many people get a lot of crap, negativity thrown their way, especially voice actors, because a few people might not like how they voiced a character, or if they might have done an amazing job at making a character hateable, and then everybody craps on the voice actor about how could you do this, but that just meant they did their job really,
And
really
that's
well.
and that is not just voice acting. That's acting in general.
I say that's any actor,
Yeah,
anyone that gets put into the spotlight of any kind. It could be singing, it could be any kind of
sports.
performance,
Like
sports. Yeah,
for
I mean, heck, the sports world's constantly on top of each other.
Yep. Like for example, Game of Thrones was extremely popular. Uh one of the actors who played a like a character that was so horrible as a person, the actor did such a good job portraying that he couldn't get cast as anything afterwards, and the amount of hate he got from social media, from day-to-day life, he ended up quitting acting as a result.
And it's sad to see, and you see the same thing in sports. You have, I mean, people post fun at like professional wrestling, but you have the good guys, you have the bad guys, and whether or not the arguments will always go on, whether or not it's scripted, it's real, it's fake, it is what it is. But you get to see these people that you grow to hate, and it turns fun at this, especially at sporting events. You have fun booing them. Somebody like LeBron James, who is so well known around the world, such a huge figure of the NBA. A lot of people, myself included, LeBron James could be the most amazing person, but because of the media darling he has become based on the success he's had, I don't like him. I don't know him personally, but I have grown to dislike LeBron James because of the media attention, because he's always being talked about. All of the accolades are worth it. He's an amazingly talented player, and he could be the greatest guy in the world. I don't know him personally, but I,
Ross,
Of,
good to
of,
see you.
of course, this pertains to any sporting event for that matter. But I remember NASCAR. There was a lot of hate behind particular drivers just because
Yup.
of how successful they were.
Dale Earnhardt Sr. was
Yup.
one that was. I was not a fan of Earnhardt Sr. For the record, I respected him because I understood what he did for the sport. His accomplishments, like Dale Sr. and Richard Petty, in my opinion, will only be the two true 7-time champions. After they changed the point system and made it into a playoff series and kind of dink and dunked around with the points and stuff. Yes, Jimmy Johnson has 7 championships as well, but
I was about to say
if you look at
the other ones I would throw out there from recent years are Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson.
I was gonna say you could argue that's a generation thing. Because I remember being young and watching Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Richard Petty, and Mark Martin was another one who was up there
Yeah,
in that era.
my,
Rusty
my
Wallace had
dad
a lot of haters. Daryl
my
Waltrip,
dad
you loved or
loved Mark
hated.
Martin. I was an Elliott Sadler fan.
But and then you get into the newer generation, uh, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson. I know there's more, but I
Kyle
stopped.
Busch.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Kyle Busch.
I stopped watching and subsequently stopped caring.
Now it's funny that you brought up NASCAR, Darren, because big news dropped in the NASCAR world this week when it was announced that former Formula One champion driver Jenson Button is going to race at Circuit of the Americas in the NASCAR race later this month. He is the second Formula One driver to attempt to make a NASCAR field, the other one being Kimi Räikkönen, who raced at Watkins Glen in 2022 and is also going to be racing at COTA, as they call it. Years ago, when I first got into Formula One racing, and I watched motorsports of all kinds, F1, IndyCar, British Touring Car Championships, Australian V8 Supercars, NASCAR, drag racing, dirt bike racing, off-road truck, like I've watched many different forms. NASCAR and F1 drivers and crews and owners look down on NASCAR as just circle track racers. You don't have real talent. Until early 2000s, Jeff Gordon. I think there was another driver who did car swaps where they took a NASCAR driver, put him in an F1 car, and an F1 driver put him in a NASCAR car. And the teams got to see the technology that the other sport was using. And that's where they gained respect for each other. But for years, they hated each other.
See, this is, and loosely bringing this back to anime. Kind of. I don't know if either of you saw the Disney movie Cars.
I did.
I saw the first one.
I saw the first one, the second one.
Oh, I saw the second one.
I did not see all of the third one. And I know they're coming out with another one where they go across the nation.
And as much as there are those that would argue NASCAR motorsports are not sports, but by the fact that it is, and it's got its own animated movie series, I wonder if would it get enough traction to have an anime done instead or as well. I can talk, really, I can.
The closest thing we've gotten, I believe, was Initial D. And aside from that, have we really had any anime that revolve around motorsports of any kind?
If you want to go really old school, Speed Racer.
I forgot about that one.
And I've never seen either.
I grew up watching some Speed Racer. Not to me, it was cartoons. It wasn't anime. I didn't know what it was back then.
But with all of the, as I call it, sports trash anime, it'd be interesting to see a motorsports anime.
Now, random question for you, Angela. Knowing that you are not really a fan of sports anime or isekai, which genre would you rather watch if you had to watch one?
Considering to the best of my knowledge, I've only really enjoyed one isekai and enjoyed multiple sports animes. I'll go with sports.
Now, which isekai did you enjoy again?
Uh, Drifters, technically an isekai, and I was annoyed, and I didn't learn that until well after the fact that I was annoyed when I realized that.
And I will agree. And something we talked about a while ago. Um, I think you were the one that brought it up, Angela. Of there's so many isekais out there. What happened to just a plain fantasy genre?
Exactly.
Why does
Like
everything need to be, start off being reincarnated into another world? Why can't you just start off
like
in that other world?
like
And
go ahead, Darren.
I was gonna say this season has actually been pretty good about doing more fantasy than isekai. There are several isekai fantasy this season, but it seems like the general fantasy is actually making a comeback this season.
It's about time. Like I only watched one episode of Banished from the Heroes Party, but that was actually it felt like a good introduction to a high fantasy thing.
And there it's not an isekai, which I think A gave it some points for you because it was a fantasy. It wasn't isekai related. Um, you know, there are some shows out now that, like Darren was saying, that has been pretty good. One isekai that I will tip my hat to, it has been better than I expected, and I went into it with low expectations to begin with, though, was saving 80,000 gold for my retirement. The thing I like about it is they made the character jump back and forth where she can go from her world to the new world and back to her original world, and she incorporates items from her original world into the new world. So I
And
kind of like that they added that twist to it.
I thought you were gonna say it's because they show you how to avoid the IRS.
No, and I mean, I mean, good fantasy is good visual fantasy is few and far between.
Have either of you started um, chilling in my 30s?
Yes,
No.
I am caught up on that.
I believe I'm caught up on it, unless there's a new episode out that I'm not aware of.
The most recent one dropped a day ago.
Okay, so yes, I'm behind one episode.
I will say that has been a fun fantasy. It's not an isekai. It is a fantasy. It's an interesting twist, kind of very seeable twist, but it was an interesting twist nonetheless that they threw in there. In some of the more recent episodes, and for those of you who are watching it that aren't caught up, I'm not going to spoil anything. I will say that it has been a entertaining show about a man who gets fired from the Demon King's army because he can't use magic, just to discover he's actually a human, not a demon, just has been raised by demons for his whole life.
Yeah,
And
and much like these other shows with characters not realizing how strong they actually are until they change settings or change areas, he's actually pretty strong.
and unlike some other, like some isekais and stuff, the main character actually is likable.
Yes, he is very self-aware and very reasonable and sensible, and does not flaunt his over-the-top power like your average fantasy or isekai main character.
And I feel like I don't know if that's I don't know if that's just the differences in writing or culture or what. But one thing I've noticed is that a lot of there's been a lot of shows lately where you could argue the main protagonist is like arguably the weakest character.
Mm-hmm.
Like going away from isekai. Uh Denji from Chainsaw Man was a piece of shit character compared to everybody else almost. The same
Deku and My Hero.
that was going to be my next example. I was getting there
Yeah. Yeah.
because I will argue there's so many better characters than Deku.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I
Exactly.
only watched into season 4, but there were I could probably, if I was gonna make a tier list based off of, and I haven't watched it in a while, but based off of what I had seen, Deku, I don't even know if I'd have him in my top 5. I'd have Asui and Ochako and Todoroki up there before Deku.
Even
I'd even have Toga up there.
I would have Toga up there before Deku.
dis that one I'll disagree, but I get it. Not saying Deku is anywhere near my top list either. I also just didn't care for Toga.
I don't know what it
Mm,
was about Toga, but early on, I just found something about that character that was intriguing.
mm-hmm.
And I obviously didn't watch enough into it to see the development arc of whether or not her character got better or worse. But from what I saw, there was enough there for me to be like, I kind of like this character, and I'm not sure why, because she's just demented and twisted.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Kind
is
of like Gasai.
no, and that's fair. Um, what are
Maybe she's part dragon. Who knows?
what are other good what are other good examples? Those
Uh,
were the two big ones that came to mind out of popular
let's see.
shows.
In terms of a weak main character, I'm trying to think of something that I'm watching this season where the side characters have been better than the main character. Mm,
Tomo-chan is one I kind of like some of the side characters better than Tomo. Tomo's still a fun character, but
uh,
I like her dark-haired friend better,
I mean,
Gundo.
Gundo.
I mean,
I
I
like.
I mean another one I could argue Attack on Titan. Eren is not the best character.
Let's see.
Comment from the chat room. Timothy says there was a time when I could actually keep up with all the anime from Japan. Nowadays there are so many, I honestly do not even try.
Don't
Which
blame
it's
you.
I don't blame you. I mean,
Same.
I limit myself to probably at most 10 shows. If I go more than that, I usually drop stuff during the season.
Oh, here's another one. I mean, granted, he's improved quite a bit, but Nagatoro, all her friends, I would say, and then her herself, of course.
Uh, and speaking of Nagatoro, it was I had somebody randomly knowing I was into anime asked me who I liked more, Nagatoro or Uzaki, and I talked because it was like the subject of the annoying female characters, and I was like, I would take Nagatoro over Uzaki 10 times out of 10.
Were they surprised by that answer or not really?
A little bit. They're like, but Uzaki is so much better. I'm like, I understand the why Uzaki is the way she is. When especially getting into season 2, you can get a better understanding of family life, upbringing, and have a better understanding of why she is the way she is. Nagatoro, I think, was just a better character all around.
True. And I love her sister's influence as well. Have you met her sister yet?
I haven't started season 2 yet.
I thought you were caught up.
Nope. I'm caught up on Bo Fury.
Same.
which I think is,
Same.
What I think you mean Digimon and Pokemon 2.0.
Rising of the Shield Lolly.
Yes.
I will say, all I'm gonna say is one of the best parts of Bofuri is the chat room style commentary at the end.
I'll
Yes.
agree. Yes. That and also the active participation from the game developers.
Yes.
And the fact that they're dealing with a player who is breaking the game and then realizing they don't even know they're breaking the game.
And on top of that, they don't know how to stop them because they realize she don't know what she's doing.
She's not consciously trying to break the game.
It just keeps happening.
And they were and in one episode, the devs were so excited when Maple took damage, and then they realized, oh, it was environment damage by accident. Well, crap.
Yep.
And it kind of, like, I know I refer to a lot of the YouTubers and stuff that I watch a lot during these podcasts, but Jerome and his group, Jerome and the buddies as they call themselves, have one of the guys that he works with and games with all the time goes by Steadfast Games. And whether he's acting, whether it's part of his acting or not, he usually goes into these games without a care in the world, without a thought in the world, and just plays. Whatever happens. And they always say it's so difficult to go up against somebody like that because they don't go in with a strategy. You don't know their play style. They don't know what they're going to do next. So how can you?
Well,
And
yeah.
That
that's basically a real life version of Maple when it comes to games like Minecraft, rounds, and the other stuff that they record and broadcast on their channels.
to an extent, back in the day, going in blind in Pokemon without the strategy guides was kind of similar because I would train the crap out of my stuff and not even realize by the time I got to the people I was fighting that, oh wait, they're not that strong. I overdid myself. But to be honest, in that regard, the hardest game ever in terms of actual battles was the Battle Frontier and Pokemon Emerald, and then Cynthia in Diamond and Pearl was probably the champion that handed the most defeats to anyone in the history of the games.
And I think, as frustrating as it is when you're a gamer and you're going up against tough opponents like that, and you're constantly getting your butt handed to you. I mean, it can get very frustrating, but I think, a lot of games nowadays is missing that component. I work with a lot of people who play games of all types, and one of the comments I've been hearing is, "Oh, I beat it in 12 hours. I beat this game in 15 hours." And there were times, the early Pokemon games, you were putting 60, 70, 80 hours at least into some of the other MMO or some of the other RPG games. You could easily, like Final Fantasy, some of those games, you'd have to be putting over 100 hours in before you
Oh,
could beat it.
oh yeah. I had over 300 hours into my Emerald game, and I still only got the silver symbols from the Battle Frontier. I never got the gold symbols. You had to win almost 100, or it was either 70 or 100 consecutive battles to even get a chance to go for the gold symbols in those games.
And like there are games, action adventure RPGs or JRPGs, where I've put well over 100 hours into, in a couple of cases, probably 200 hours easily. And, but that's also just one, I have this uncanny ability to get lost in a world map and spend arguably just as much time backtracking to figure out where the hell I'm going.
Yep.
Or the ADHD where it's like, oh, there's a new side quest. I'm right. Instead of doing this thing I should be doing, I'm going to go off and do the side quest because it's right here.
You know, it's funny. Going back earlier, you mentioned Cars. I had the Cars game for the Xbox 360 back in the day, and they would have main events in order to progress the story. But other than that, the terrain was open and you would have to drive to the events. But in the meantime, you'd be collecting points and whatnot, just following random paths in the road. You would unlock special side events that would unlock unique abilities in the game. And this was back in 2006, 2007, and one of my first games on the 360. And I
Oh,
remember
wow.
investing a lot of time into that. And it was just amazing to me how much development went into throwing all this stuff out in the middle of nowhere to where it was hard to find.
And then there's people like me with like Grand Theft Auto games, GTA 3, 4, 5, where I would do the story sometimes. I spent more hours just goofing around on the game and doing ridiculous stuff than I was doing the actual storyline.
Uh,
I easily tripled goof off time as opposed to storyline.
for me that game was Dynasty Warriors. Cuz one of the first games I had for my 360 was one of the Dynasty Warriors games, and you had to play the story to unlock stuff. But it was also one of those, I was still working fast food and I was working mostly nights at that point. So it'd be I'm going to run around this challenge level where the objective is to kill as many things as possible in a set amount of time. There's my stress outlet.
That's kind of what GTA 3 became for me. And then when I figured out some tricks to get to a closed off area where a bridge was blown out, but with the right vehicle at the right speed, you could take off like an airplane and clear the gap and go to a closed off area.
Yep,
It just turned into, let's see how stupid I can be. Let's just relieve some stress this way and just do stuff in a game that you would never be able to do in real life.
yep,
Exactly.
yep, yep.
A safe venting, so to speak.
In real life, I cannot walk around with a rocket launcher and grenades and burn things to the ground.
Well, you could, but you wouldn't last very long.
And nor would I want to in real life. In a video game where that I know is not real, I can do these things and it will have no bearing on my day at work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Except maybe being tired because you stayed up too late.
That's what coffee is for.
Coffee
I
and
don't.
nowadays energy drinks.
I don't drink either.
Fair.
I drink tea. That's why.
Teas are good. First thing in the morning, I prefer my coffee.
Well, I'm talking about Southern sweet tea.
Fair. Not entirely sure I've had good Southern sweet tea.
Bojangles is one of the best around, and it's not just talk. Just saying.
It's probably different down in your area than it is in Pennsylvania.
Probably.
I'm just gonna throw that out there because I know a couple of people who got the Bojangles sweet tea and was like, it's good. I don't know if it's the best, but it's like, well, maybe it's different down
No,
actually in the true Bojangles area as opposed
it
to
is. It is.
Pennsylvania.
Same thing with the biscuits. I think I brought this up before. The Washington Post or New York Times or one of those magazines out of Washington, D.C., did a survey, had a taste test kind of deal like 10 years, 5, 8, 10 years ago. and on the best breakfast biscuits from fast food joints. Bojangles was in the running, KFC, McDonald's, Hardee's, and Popeyes. Bojangles ranked near the bottom. And after that happened, one of our senators got on Twitter and started blasting them, saying they needed to have their taste buds reevaluated. And also, they probably picked one of the worst Bojangles locations in the country, because if you come down to North Carolina, our policies and procedures for a lot of our food are different than that of the corporate restaurant chains that are in the northern parts. So if you come back to where everything started, then the the food will probably taste quite a bit different because of the different way it's prepared.
Well, very understandable.
Yep.
But getting back on the anime topic, we had talked about doing a mid-season review of the shows that we're watching. I think now's a good time to switch gears into what we're watching, what we think of these shows, and do we have recommendations from this season that we would pass on to people who are interested? Do we have shows that may not be as good?
Should we start with the one all of us are watching?
We probably should.
Which one's that? I forgot.
Or we save that for last.
Um, Makes no difference to me.
We could always save the best for last.
Oh, well, but that's the Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten.
Yes, but not all of us are watching that.
I know. But he said the best for last. He didn't say anything about the best for last that all three of us were watching.
Fair.
That's true, because we all have shows that we're watching of different genres, different tastes.
I actually think I don't think I'm watching anything else that you guys are watching.
Well, what are you watching, just to give us an idea, besides Bo Fury?
Trigun Stampede,
Mm-hmm.
My Hero Academia, Near, and Trials of Cold Steel Northern War.
Why is Vinland Saga not on that list?
Because I'm nowhere because I got sidetracked and it's not on my list, but not actually caught up or started. Vinland Saga, Tomo-chan, Bochi, and at least one more that I don't remember.
And on my list, and I have to scroll down through Crunchyroll because I had it written down at one point what I was watching, but I can't find that list. But I am enjoying By the Grace of the God Season 2. I have been watching Saving 80,000 Gold in Another World for my retirement. It's definitely been better than I expected. And like I mentioned before, I like the fact that she can jump through time or jump from world to world.
But she's crazy.
She's crazy, but she makes it work.
And sometimes in the most cringe way possible.
That's okay. Sometimes you need those cringe animes. Chilling in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army, we touched on a little bit. That has been enjoyable. Like I said, Daryl, the main character, actually is a likable main character. He's strong, but humble about it, doesn't realize the power he has. And when he does realize how strong he is, he doesn't flaunt it, he doesn't abuse it. He's still the same person that he was, regardless of whether he was living with the demons or moving in to the human world.
Mm-hmm. And plus, his wife is whoops. His girl is absolutely unique.
And I know, Darren, that you watched Fruit of Evolution a little bit in the first season, right?
I watched all of it, and I'm caught up on the second season.
I haven't really started the second season. I think I've started. It was like, wait, this is something that Casey and I were going to watch together, so I didn't get very far. But who do you think is stronger, Saria from Fruit of Evolution, or Daryl's girl and Chilling in My 30s
Transformed or in general?
in general?
I would have to give it to Malika, just because especially if you throw a certain somebody in the mix. Well, either one of them really.
Uh,
I would give it to Malika.
she's definitely somebody you wouldn't want to get on the bad side of.
Dude, she scared even the one of the Demon King's generals.
Yeah. Tomo-chan has been really enjoyable. I have enjoyed that. I like the way that the storyline has been progressing, especially between Tomo and her childhood friend. I like the fact that he's finally coming to terms of, that he is getting feelings for her and how that stuff is being brought out. It also is an interesting series to show just how devious women can be when it comes to friends and situations.
Yes, and it also is nice to see a tomboy anime. Just throwing that out there.
It is. And Tomo is a fun character. I don't want people to think I hate Tomo just because I like Gundo better.
But the moms in that series,
Carol is still a fruitcake, even though one of the more recent episodes made her a little bit more likable. Still not ranked very highly on my list, but she became a little bit more enjoyable of a character and a little bit more realistic as a character, in my opinion.
mhm. But Gundo's mom and Tomo's mom,
Yeah, they're definitely interesting. I like Carol's mom when what's his name showed up at the house and she just like punches him in the head.
my favorite moment with the moms is when Gundo's mom comes up. She's like, I'm not sure about this one, and she's like, neither are we.
Yeah, and then the last one that I am watching it Crunchyroll side is The Adventurers Who Don't Believe in Humanity Will Save the World. That has had an interesting story to it. That's one I think Angela would enjoy based on the fact that it's sheer fantasy, not isekai. And
And
also, the characters kind of hate everybody and have good reason to.
hmm
And it's interesting to see how they form the party and what has progressed from there.
hmm and to be honest, I think it's one of the more under the radar shows this season. Because yes, I can see how people would get bored and drop it really quickly, but the whole premise behind it is like, okay, how are they going to become the party that succeeds? Like, how are they going to do it?
Mm-hmm. And good evening,
Yeah.
Mario. So glad that you could join us.
I honestly, if I remember correctly, that's one of those ones that I I read the description and kind of at the time decided I wasn't going to actually have the time to get caught up, so I was going to wait until the end of the season and watch the entire thing.
But I,
Well, you'll be doing yourself a favor.
I think, as much of a surprise as Bochi was with the popularity and the amount of praise it got from coming out of nowhere, I think that it, this show is one that isn't going to get the love it deserves, even though it's a lot better than people give it credit for.
And
Hmm.
that's and yeah, Darren talked about it a while ago. I actually marked it on my anime list as want to watch, but then got stupid busy and then said, "Eh, I'll get it. I'll wait until it's finished and then watch the whole thing at once when I have time."
That may be what I do with like Nagatoro, is wait till it's finished and then go back and watch it.
And by the way, speaking of the adventures, the opening and ending for that show are quite good and quite catchy, particularly the ending.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've actually watched the ending because half the time I'm watching them is later at night where I'm trying to cram a lot of shows in a short time, so I skip the music. I know, bad on me, but
The opening is quite catchy, but the ending is quite adorable and very catching.
how
I
does it
don't know
compare
if
to
you're
something like Call of the Night's ending?
no, but um, I don't know if you're the type to skip the endings because you never know what little bits might be at the very end that they show after the credits, or sometimes the credits themselves will be the
Spoilers.
not spoilers, but a part of the actual episode.
Yeah, I've found many shows where there's extra stuff after. Um, Actually, Show by Rock Mashima Resh had a lot of funny little quirky stuff after the credits.
Yep, and that's why uh, I've learned over the years, just because the show's over and cuts to the closing credits, that don't mean anything. 9 times out of 10, there's something behind those credits that is crucial to the story. And if you don't watch it, you're going to be in the dark come the next week.
Now, Angela, on the shows that you've been watching, because you do have very different tastes from Darren and myself, what has surprised you as being a show that you've enjoyed maybe more than you expected?
Uh, Trigun Stampede by far. Um,
Is, is it because of the story? Is it because even though the animation's different than the original, what drew you into it?
um, well, what we expected was something closer, not necessarily a sequel or a reboot, but something closer to the original. And that is not what you get. We've been watching it, and it's been the first couple episodes was like, it was like, what the fuck did I just watch? I don't remember this. But we watched episode 10 on Saturday. And it's basically it's mostly the same characters, but it's a very different story. And the art is very different from the original, but it is definitely, if Trigun is if that kind of if that genre or that style is something you enjoy, I highly recommend.
And I've heard a lot of people talk about Trigun, Casey included, and saying that if you go into it expecting it to be like the original, you're going to be disappointed. If you go into it with an open mind, as this it could be something completely new with the same characters, it's really enjoyable in that frame of mind.
Yes. That, and going back to the conversation about music, the opening song is fantastic and has made its way onto my anime playlist already.
Along with a lot of creepy nuts.
I made a separate playlist for Creepy Nuts and Bandmade, but
I have seen so many posts on Facebook recently come across my feed about Bandmade. I haven't actually listened to them, but
um,
they are gaining a lot of popularity from what I'm seeing.
they did how I found them specifically was from they did the opening to Platinum End, and then I looked them up, and it's a Japanese metal band, and they are fantastic. And I missed when they toured the States because I happened to be in London when they were here. First world problems, I'm aware.
I honestly don't think I've listened to any of their music. I just have seen like a lot of talk about them. Also, a lot of like baby metal stuff comes across my Facebook feed as well.
If you like baby metal, try Bandmade.
I will have to listen to some of their stuff. I mean, I was blown away by how much like I didn't know who Asuka was before the concert at Anime Boston last year, and I was blown away by how good her music is.
Agreed. Ditto.
And I mean, there's just so many. That's one of the great things about music. It doesn't matter like the language barrier. Good music is still good music, whether you can understand the lyrics or not.
Hmm.
If you can listen to a song and it moves you in some way, shape, or form, you don't have to understand the meaning of it. You don't have to understand the lyrics of it. If the beat, the tempo,
The
the flow of the song,
feels.
the feel of the song gets you. If you can feel a connection with the song, makes you happy, makes you want to dance, brings back memories or something. That's a powerful thing that a lot of people don't think about.
Uh, Ironically, this morning, kind of sidetracking here, depending on the day, I tend to be the DJ in the mornings before we actually open the store. And I put out a couple of songs this morning, and one of them got my one of my employees into such a good mood. He stayed in that good mood practically throughout the whole day. And of course, a lot of them, once the day starts, when they get into the rush, they're starting to cuss people out. They're starting to fuss and whine and moan. No, he stayed in a good mood all day, and he said part of what got him in that mood was some of the music that I put on that morning.
And it is. It's amazing how powerful music is. I mean, I'm sure
Exactly.
everyone listening to the show tonight or wherever you're listening to it, you have songs that you can go back to and connect with. They bring back memories.
Um, yeah, I mean, I there are songs like one of the concerts I went to see last year was Rammstein. I don't speak a word of German, but it was just the same fantastic. The music, the atmosphere, the energy, it was all just the an amazing experience and worth the amount of money I paid for that.
And an older song that like I agree. I don't speak German, but you look back in the at the 80s and 99 red balloons or 99 Luftballons. Anytime I hear that song, I have to start singing it. I don't know the words. I barely know the English adaptation to it, but it's a song I really enjoy listening to. And I'll be honest, I think it's better in Japanese or it's better in German than it is in English.
Um, there's wow, I'm just gonna continue the sidetrack because one of on that note, I went to see I saw the Who band,
With
Mongolian
the
throat singers.
I was about to say because there's the Who and then there's the Who.
It's the
Who?
Mongolian throat singers, and
Yes.
their encore song was a cover of Metallica's Sad But True in Chinese.
N-
And it was exactly. With the opening chords, I was skeptical, but it bloody worked.
Although, I mean, there, you know, I saw like a jug band doing one of those songs, one of the heavy metal songs. I forget the name of it, but it's, thunder.
Oh,
Thunderstruck
ACDC.
by
Yeah,
AC/DC.
and they were doing it on a washboard with the picks on the thumbs and like a backstring guitar, and it just worked. It didn't seem like it would make any sense. That it seemed like these, and I'm not trying to generalize, but a lot of people in U.S. culture would relate to if you said backwoods Southern hillbilly, just sitting there picking on an old washboard with with a thumb. Okay, what do they call that there? The
Oh, what?
cap that would that people sewing put on their thumbs or
Thimble.
Oh,
the thimble,
thimble.
sitting there with a thimble and just strumming away, and it actually worked and sounded amazing. Of just like this acoustic with these unusual musical instruments that you wouldn't think of as musical instruments, and it sounded fantastic.
To bring this back on track, I feel like we've got to read Ross's comment because it's directed at Darren.
Of course, because he mostly agrees with my taste in waifus. But going back to your comment on Girls Bravo, Doug,
Okay.
he doesn't like. He's confused as to why I like Kyrie.
Better yet, why into bully? Oh, Discord. Shh, go away. Why into bully girls who beat up nice guys?
Because to be honest, they tend to be the more romantic ones. I like the Sundays for that reason. Because I feel like they develop a deeper connection with the main character as time goes on.
In some cases, you can say that. Like
What
looking
exact?
at other looking at other tsundere characters, Louise Francois from Familiar Zero, she develops quite the connection with Saito, even though she's a complete and total bitch to him through most of the series. But you can tell that she has true feelings for him, even though she treats him literally like a dog, making him sleep on the floor in a bed of hay. Of course, then when she is nice in season 2, lets him sleep in the bed with her. He puts his hand across her chest and says nothing, and rolls back over.
Or flat as a washboard or something.
Yeah, because she's got very little plot up top. And Ross says,
Tomboys
Kyrie
can
is
be waifus too.
Yes,
Tomo
they
could be
can.
Tomo. I bet would make a good waifu. I'm not
Like,
gonna lie, I
like
could see
I'm
her as
I'm
a
just
waifu.
gonna I'm just gonna leave that there and say tomboys can be waifus too, even though I have not seen any of the shows being referenced.
Yes, tomboys can be waifus. There were several growing up that I liked. Unfortunately, they all ended up moving away or they ended up with other guys.
And I was the tomboy that up until college couldn't get a date because I wasn't girly enough.
Well, my mom even was considered a tomboy, she said, growing up, because most of her friends were guys. She didn't really hang around with the girls that much.
That's me.
But there's nothing wrong with that, and
And
I mean,
this
I mean, when you look at like anime and gaming culture, it's amazing to see what people consider waifu material or husbando material.
because
I,
everyone has such extreme different tastes for whatever reason.
But that's
What one people see as the worst character in the history of anime, others may see as, oh, that girl is totally wipeable.
and that gets into just human nature.
and HH in the chat says, unfortunately, tomboys tend to be B characters in a harem or something like that. Nagatoro or
I
Renoro
think he meant to type on the other hand.
can be considered a tomboy.
Agreed, but there are several shows, Nagatoro and Tomo are two great examples where they're putting the tomboy character in the front and center of the attention.
And Nagatoro is an adorable character, especially when she shows the softer side.
Or just the embarrassed, flustered part because she said something embarrassing and he reacted to it like
Or,
any normal person would.
or when she has him try to tell which buns are premium buns that she shoves in her shirt and one falls out.
And he actually.
Gets a handful of something that's not bread. That did happen.
Eh,
Yeah, and
And
it's
he's
her
like
own. And
soft
it's
and
her.
squishy, and I think this is the premium, and it was originally the
Oh,
premium packaged roll
but
that
he
was in
got
that side, but
but he got the actual premium.
he turned into
eh.
David Copperfield, you know.
That was bad. That was so bad.
Hey, I'm just taking that off of one of David Copperfield's specials. So he said that himself.
That doesn't make it any better. Oh my god.
It was still funny though, and you'll use that.
Yeah,
No. I'm just gonna
You signed up for this.
this is what your life became when you became a co-host.
this is nothing new. The difference is now we have it. The difference is this time it's in front of an audience.
So what's wrong with exposing yourself to be more relatable with the audience? To an extent.
Bad bad humor is still bad, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. You know what? Doug,
Ross has a good
switching
question.
switching gears is almost everyone caught up on farming life.
Haven't
I
started.
I am caught up on farming life, and Ross, I know you came in a little bit later to the show because I think I started off talking about farming life early on, and I will be honest, it's better than I expected. It's a feel good anime where if you want to watch something that you don't have to pay a ton of attention to, you just want to enjoy a fun storyline, you want to enjoy cute characters. Basically, I saw comments referring to it as Farmville the anime plus harem, which I agree to. There was another comment in there which had me laughing hysterically, poking fun at the isekai genre in and of itself, saying, next you know they'll have that time I was reincarnated as a toilet. I expect that in 2024, probably.
I mean, we're getting reincarnated as a vending machine.
Yep.
I I can't. I don't.
When I saw reincarnated as a toilet, I was so happy I was actually in the bathroom when I read that because I literally was laughing the piss out of me. Um,
I reincarnated as a vending machine, but why?
there's reincarnated as an apple too. Darren had introduced that one to me. That was a new
I
manga or light novel title.
Because light novel titles can go anywhere.
I will agree with that, but can we Can we stop with the reincarnated as dot dot dot? Can that
No,
can that
th-
just
th-
be
no.
And Darren, I thoroughly enjoyed that picture you sent.
No, there's more than one.
Oh, there's more than one?
Yeah, click on the link. There's more than one.
Oh god. Darren, what the heck did you send us?
I didn't send you anything. It was
No,
strictly him.
he sent.
Oh no, there was something to the group chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
And
that
that's
was the
just
song that he played.
that was the song that got my friend in the groove this morning.
ah.
What he sent me was various pictures of the girls from Beast Tamer. The cat girl and the dragon girl. The only thing is a dragon girl that doesn't have a tail in any of these, but yas. Hello, Sharka, and thank you. She is my favorite girl from Nekopara. Coconut is best girl in my opinion.
No, cinnamon.
Nah, Coconut. You and I
Cinnamon.
will agree to disagree on best girls from multiple series.
Of course. Otherwise,
And
it would be
Angela
no
will just
fun.
sit there and shake her head at us, being like, "Boys will be boys."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
HH says there is a reincarnated as an onsen, and yes, it's as terrible as you'd expect.
Oh my god. I see.
Did you hear? Did you hear about the fantasy where the guy is a hero and the guy is kicked out of the heroes party and he takes revenge on the hero by um basically hooking up with the hero's mom?
I did hear about an anime where a guy is kicked out of a party and then buys all the former, and then ends up
Yes, yes,
acquiring all of the former uh, party members' moms off of the slave trade.
yes. Then that
What
was a light novel,
I was gonna say, is this an anime?
not yet.
Give it time with how everything else has gone
And I
downhill.
know, I know, I know. I'm just see. I suppose we're at an era where, like everything else, we're getting with the advancements in technology. We're getting so much that it's hard to pick and choose what's quality and what's just mediocre. Just like it's hard to predict what's going to be. We could go into we could go into a season of anime and predict what's going to be popular and be completely off the mark. The things that the things that, should be top top tier or get a lot of views don't. But
Okay, let's see. Let's get to the R's.
um and while we're while I'm rambling, it's interesting to see like we all see what's popular here in the States. What's popular here in the States is not necessarily what's popular in other countries. And that's actually something that surprised me when I was overseas. Because while there are some shows that are universally popular, we saw ads for a lot of other shows that here would have been underrated.
And on the subject, and actually Casey and I were talking about this earlier today while she was preparing all of her artwork and stuff for Anime Boston, figuring out what she needed for inventory, working on new pieces for Anime Boston and everything. And she said it's amazing to see what work will sell as an artist. Things that you absolutely love and you think are going to sell great may get one or two bites, and something that you threw together in 10 minutes that was just some stupid idea you're selling out of and people absolutely love. And yeah, you just like you said, in anime and art, video games, you just never know what's going to hit. And
On that note, kind of off topic, but I was watching an episode of Pawn Stars, and there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic that came up in the shop. It was one of the first editions, and they actually brought in one of the creators of the series to verify the authenticity of it. And he basically said, "Yeah, me and these other guys came up with a quick doodle or a quick like one shot comic, and then said this is the stupidest thing we've ever done." And then next thing you know, it's an absolute success.
Yep.
mhm. I'm hoping we can all see that after doing some of our shows. It's the stupidest thing we've ever done, and then next thing you know, Anime-Zing Radio is a huge success. We're waiting on that.
We'll get
Yep.
there.
And Ross in the chat says, unfortunately, the vending machine light novel only has 3 volumes, so you know the show is going to be rushed. The fact that they're making an anime about being reincarnated as a vending machine says enough.
But I mean, if we look at, we compare, if we look at modern television these days, there's just so much stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
And anime is kind of becoming the same way. There's just so much. It's like, where would someone begin?
I'm reading something that Darren just sent me talking about light novels that have ridiculously long titles. And I'm going to pull this up on stream here, because this could be something that all of us could have fun making fun of. Because after a quick look through some of these, I have actually
I've
heard
seen
of
most
or
of them.
seen.
All right, let's play the game of what have I heard of?
These two, I guarantee you've not heard. Actually, let's just go through the whole list so she can see them.
Yeah. So, scrolling up to the top of the page here, 11 light novels that have ridiculously long titles. Updated on October 12th, 2022.
Okay.
Aria sometimes hide her feelings.
I'm looking forward to this one. That is getting an anime. I am. Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to that one.
All right.
My youth romantic comedy is wrong as I expected.
Oh God.
Top tier rom-com. 3 seasons, absolutely love it. Best girl was chosen.
Do you love your mom and her 2-hit multi-target attacks? Never watched, but know it's an anime. Have heard of.
I watched it.
Been killing slimes for 300 years, maxed out my level. Can't wait for season 2. Of course, that's something I would enjoy.
I've heard of that one.
I would hope so.
You've heard me talk about it immensely. Cautious hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious.
I've heard of that one. And then
Anthony Bowling does a great job as the main protagonist.
And then I'm gonna jump ahead to the chat. Ross HH is asking Ross if he saw the meme of an item getting stuck in the vending machine, so the buyer gets ready to reach in, but then goes, wait a minute. Then the next panel is the vending machine saying, "Come on, Tomei. I really need this." Oh god.
And
Death
then
Note.
Death
Hey.
Note, another note, the Los Angeles BB murder cases.
Ooh.
Trapped in a dating sim, the world of Otome games is tough for mobs.
I've heard of that one.
I think I
Mhm.
watched one episode of the anime and wasn't sure what to make of it, and with so many other shows, I just kind of forgot about it.
HH says they wish Cautious Hero got a second season.
Give it time, it still could. After a 7-year lapse for Devil is a Part Timer, got a second season, so anything's possible.
Suppose a kid from the last Dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town.
This was actually a really, really good show. I would on this list, I would rate it higher than just about anything that was above it. I'm not
Um,
sure what 3, 2, or 1 are,
you're,
but
I was about to say, uh,
Keep,
Origaru is the highest rated one on this list, in my opinion.
let's keep going.
number 3, World End. What will you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? Great anime, very rushed ending. They probably could have turned that into a 24 episodes first season or 2 seasons and made the story 10 times better than it was. But the story itself was fantastic. The characters were enjoyable. Absolutely loved that. I even have a T-shirt from this show. So
Okay, and the last two I've never heard of.
I'm a behemoth, an S-ranked monster, but mistaken for a cat. I live as an elf girl's pet.
What?
What the hell?
What the
What the?
what the fuck?
Okay. Number 1. Sew for her, strip her, change her clothes. She screwed up her high school debut and became a shut-in, so I've ended up coordinating her youth fashion. Wait,
What?
what? Darren, where do you find this stuff?
I just Googled random reincarnation shows, and it came up with random reincarnated light novel titles, and then this came up.
I I don't know why number 2 and number 1 exist. The even more disturbing reality for me is these sound like shows I would watch just to check them out.
Here's another one, and these are even weirder.
I don't think I don't know if we're going to have time for that
See,
for another list.
there are
It-
some of those you'd get me, but um Spy Family the musical in Japan. Oh dear.
In the chat room, Ross says, "HH, I trouble getting into Cautious because I didn't watch it when it came out." And I said, I watched Booney's one. The girl hyper focus on Lloyd, not a bad girl. Also, dating sim is good series. The the Boonies anime, like I said, was a lot better than I expected. I think of that list, I probably would, if I were going to rank the ones I saw, Killing Signs would probably be number 1, Boonies would be 2, and World World End would be number 3. For enjoyment factor of how much I enjoyed the shows, storyline wise, World End had probably the best storyline, but like I said, it was way too rushed. especially for the last couple of episodes. It felt like they could have it felt like they did the opposite of a shonen, where they have they have a good show going, a good storyline, and then to drag it out, they put 15 episodes of filler in there. Here, I feel like they could have gone another 12 episodes with what they have. And Ross says, serious question for Angela.
Okay.
And chat's working a little bit slow, so go ahead and ask the question when you're ready, Ross. And thank you again to everybody tuning in tonight. It's so great to see so many people joining us every week. We really do appreciate it. Coming up next week, we actually have guests that are going to be joining us. And we have our friends Hatake and Sahara cosplayers are going to be joining us as they're in crunch time for Anime Boston. It's going to be fun to talk to these guys again. Always love having them on the show.
Oh.
Go ahead, Angela, read the...
I meant, are you ready for the lightning to strike the kids next weekend? Shazam. I watched... I watched... we quasi-recently watched Black Adam, and then we watched the new Shazam movie recently. I say new hesitantly because I'm not sure how new it is. It was new to me. But that's one of those... That's one of those... I'll be honest, I'm losing faith in the DC movies even more because of a few different things.
Attack on Titan syndrome. Just keeps going.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's they basically treated one actor like garbage by forcing him to announce he was coming back, and then all of a sudden, nope, you're not coming back. And then basically when a lot of bad stuff came out about one actor, instead of doing anything about it, they basically went forward and are still going to put the movie out. I'm not going to get into any details because, one, it's almost that time, and two, that gets into
stuff that doesn't need to be spoken of on this platform.
Exactly.
Also, before we go, I want to wish a big congratulations to our friend Christy Rothrock, who got married this weekend. I heard listening to her morning radio show that she was getting married yesterday. So congratulations to her. We definitely wish her all the best in her relationship and everything. So happy for her. And HH, thank you for tuning in every week. I know you say this is your weekly therapy session, watching us just be complete and total idiots here on the show, but we have fun. We love that you guys tune in. Really, it means a lot to us.
Agreed. And John points out today is Alex Lee's birthday, the voice of Zenitsu in Demon Slayer.
So happy birthday to Alex Lee. Happy birthday to all of those who had birthdays this week. I've also been seeing, I know coming up soon, Kaylee Mills, another talented voice actress, is going to be getting married soon. She's posting a lot of pics on social media about getting ready for that. So definitely wish her the best. We had her on the show many, many years ago. And Angela, did you get a chance to meet her last year at Anime Boston?
I don't think I did.
Because I know she was a last minute addition. I know that Casey and I went up to meet her and I got an autograph. She is best known as Amelia from ReZero, in my opinion, best girl, even though everybody loves Rem. No love for the half elf.
Half elves get no love, period.
Pretty much. Nobody likes him. The humans hate him. The elves hate him. But she was a
But
great character. But until next week, I hope everybody stays safe out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening to us on podcasts, thank you so much for
and
taking
if
the
you're
time.
and if you're in an area where there are storms predicted, please stay safe.
Yes, definitely stay safe out there. If you want to support Anime-Zing Radio, you can support us by going to patreon.com/Anime-Zing Radio. Any help that you want to donate is greatly appreciated. Also, again, follow us on Twitch, follow us on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the
Like
like
us
button.
on like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. We do this because we love anime and we love sharing our opinions with the world.
And we love the interaction of you guys.
Exactly.
Like I said, next weekend we're going to have Hatake and Sahara joining us, two amazingly talented cosplayers. They may even be in cosplay. They might be showing some behind the scenes of what they're working on for Anime Boston Masquerade. They're multiple time winners of Anime Boston. They have won many awards from conventions throughout the Northeast. These are probably two of the greatest cosplayers that I know that aren't famous, but could be. So definitely you don't want to miss when these guys come on. It's always fun. Chaos usually ensues. We have a history of technical gremlins when they're on, which they like to joke about. But until next week, everybody stay safe out there, and we will see you again right here for more Anime-Zing Radio on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Good night, everyone.